Hey everybody, this is Russ Carson Jr., one of the genealogists here at Family Tree Nuts, and we're in Clark County, Kentucky, just up the hill from Boonesborough, just up the ridgeline from Lower Howard's Creek. I got a special guest with me. You want to introduce yourself?
My name's Amanda Thompson-Hughes, and I'm my family's family historian.
Awesome, awesome. And we're at a little tiny small cemetery on the top of this ridge that's called Hieronymus / Holder Station Cemetery.
That's right.
I think there's about 20 graves here, and the highlighted grave right here that we see here is a Colonel John Holder. Who's John Holder?
Well, Colonel John Holder was a defender, actually the commander, during the siege of Boonesborough.
Awesome.
And before that, though, he was one of the rescuers during the Frances Calloway and her sister and Jemima Boone when they were kidnapped by the Indians.
Now, what is that story all about? I know that's a famous story we heard about as kids, but what is that? Tell us a little more about that story right there.
Well, the girls were in a boat and they drifted a little bit too far away from the fort. And the Indians basically reached out and snatched them,
right,
and started taking them back across the river.
Right.
And then Daniel Boone, who, you know, the father of one of the girls, Jemima, and then John Holder, and then Richard Calloway, the father of two of the girls,
right,
and other men of the fort gave chase, and they tracked them down.
And what happened when they found them?
Well, they killed all the Indians and got the girls back.
Saved the girls. That became a very popular story for all of America during the time, the rescue of the girls from Boonesborough.
Yeah.
And it actually is the basis for a pretty famous movie that you probably heard of. What's the name of the movie?
Last of the Mohicans.
Last of the Mohicans, when they captured the girls. This is the inspiration of the story that's right here. So, and that's Frances Calloway right there that's buried right here, one of the girls that was in that. So,
yeah.
But Colonel John Holder was the commander of the fort and during the 1778 siege at Boonesborough.
That's right.
Wait a minute, that was Boonesborough. Where was Daniel Boone at?
He was also captured by the Indians at the time.
Right.
And he was away for about 10 months, and Colonel Holder thought that he had actually went to the Indians, you know, and was a traitor.
Right, he did, because he stayed with them for a while. He was adopted into the Shawnee. I think Chief Blackfish adopted him as his own son, gave him the name Little Turtle, or I think Chautauqua is how they pronounce that. And he heard news that the Indians had planned to attack Boonesborough, and
yes,
he made a pretty epic journey. What did he do?
Basically from the area of Chillicothe, Ohio, down here to Boonesborough in Madison County. He ran it in 4 days. 4 days. 4 days. I don't know how far that is a crow flies. I need to look that up, but that's pretty substantial right there. Yeah.
So John Holder, after the siege and things, I think in 1780 he ended up with, what, 100,000 acres or something like that around here?
That's right. 100,000 acres overall in all of Kentucky, about 1,000 right here on Lower Howard's Creek.
Right, which is part of Thompson's Ridge, which is where your own ancestors lived for the last, or not for the last, but for about a 75 to 100 year stretch there.
That's right. That's right. And Colonel Holder really wanted this area to be an industrial center of Kentucky. There were sawmills and grist mills and all kinds of boat building, areas, boatyards, thank you, all through this area.
That he started. That's right. And that was a real strategic place, because to have the boatyard there at Lower Howard's Creek, where it empties into Kentucky River, you know, the farmers here needed to get their wares out of here, floated down the Kentucky River into the Ohio, into the Mississippi, down to New Orleans.
That's right.
So that was a very strategic place. So he owned a lot of businesses here. I think he was the trustee of Winchester, one of the first trustees.
That's right.
But he lived a nice, healthy, long life as a rich man, didn't he?
Not as a rich man.
No.
Unfortunately, through a series of bad business deals and just circumstances, he ended up dying penniless. And his son-in-law actually inherited this area, Samuel R. Combs.
Yeah.
He married their daughter, Theodosia, and something happened bad to Samuel, didn't it?
Well, he was a pretty rowdy scoundrel, as I guess they'd say. He was sued multiple times for slander, and he got in a fight, I guess, with another two guys. Him and another guy got in a fight. They were on their way to court the next day, and
that's right.
Before they went into court in Winchester, there on the courthouse steps,
his neck was slashed. Almost completely severed his head.
Said his head was almost barely attached to his body. So that's his son-in-law that owned the land. And then I guess a few years later down the road, it passed into your family right up around here.
That's right.
And of course, Colonel Holder died in 1798. And we're up here in the front, and just in front of them, a few levels of graves right there, is a special lady here.
Well, special to me anyway.
Yeah, I think she's special. I think her story needs to be told. You want to talk about her?
Well, this is Sarah Thompson. It's my 3 times great-grandmother, married to William Thompson in 1848.
Awesome.
Unfortunately, she did not live long. I'm pretty sure she died in childbirth in 1853.
Wow.
And left her husband and 2 daughters. The husband eventually remarried and had other kids,
Wow.
which was the progenitor of the Thompson Ridge down below.
Awesome. That's awesome stuff. And then we got one other guy right over here, Johann Franz Hieronymus. That's a mouthful, isn't it?
Yes.
The progenitor of all the Hieronymuses in the United States. And
Yeah.
he was born, where was he born?
He was born in Germany in 1729.
Yep.
He came to the U.S. probably through Philadelphia, like
We know
a lot
he
of
did,
the
1747.
Yeah, like a lot of the German immigrants did
Yep.
at the time, and then down the Wilderness Road,
Yep,
your Great
Lancaster.
Wagon Road, and then on into Kentucky.
Part of the Pennsylvania Dutch that settled there originally. And he came here in 1795, bought some land from Colonel Holder over there, and right before he passed away. And his family was raised here and is now spread out all over the United States.
That's correct,
So,
right.
and that's why this area is called the Hieronymus Holder Station Cemetery. So, what's it like to come back to a spot not only where your own third great grandmother, but also some very famous information is right here.
Yeah, it's to be tied into this area through my family is just very. It's very significant because not a whole lot of people can say that.
Nope.
And I don't want to think that I'm a special person because everybody's family has a story, but this is a very significant section of not only Kentucky history, but American history.
Absolutely, without a doubt, without a doubt. So yeah, this is a really neat spot here. We're right next to an old, looks like an abandoned barn. Hieronymus's house is over there. You can get to this location off of the road, but you're not allowed to cross over the gate right there, the Athens-Boonesborough Road down there. You've got to hike up the ridge line about a mile or so up here to get to this spot right here, right behind Halls on the River. But anyway, wanted to take you to this neat little spot here of American and Kentucky history. And hey, remember, family tree nuts. Let our nuts find the nuts in your family tree.